Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forbidden Land podcast. It is a big, exciting episode. Not really. It's actually very technical and very exhausting. But this is the last episode that I'm doing in this room. Yes, I am free of the garage. I'm only still doing this here because I have internet here. But I am free of the garage and can move on to a new room. That will probably be here next week. If I miss next week, it's because I still don't have internet. Unless I record this on my MacBook and then upload it to like on like Starbucks Wi-Fi or whatever, some kind of free Wi-Fi. But it's been an interesting week, and there's been a lot of elections across the country this week. But I want to start with this very interesting story. So, as of the last few months, and this has been going on for decades, but as of the last few months, AIPAC has seen the writing on the wall. Specifically, the Israeli lobby has seen the writing on the wall, and they've realized that, oh shit, our position is so deeply unpopular that, we got to start dumping money into these campaigns. And so like a few weeks ago, we saw Kentucky had its most expensive House race in U.S. history. The most expensive U.S. House race in U.S. history. And it was the primary for one district in Kentucky, Thomas Massey's district. And they spent $35 million across the entire race so far. AIPAC has been going crazy. Well, in the last couple of years, as you may have noticed with the, just that little old annoying genocide in Gaza. And now with the Iran war and the invasion and complete takeover of Lebanon, southern Lebanon. They haven't taken over the whole country yet, but they're probably going to. People don't like Israel anymore. Wow, shocker. Polling suggests that at least over half the Democrats in the voter base don't fuck with Israel anymore, which is a big shift from 3 years ago. That's like a 70-point shift from what it used to be. So, Drop Site News. One of its co-founders, Ryan Grimm, who has been reporting on AIPAC funding for a while. They do a lot of investigative reporting on finding out what campaigns are being donated to by AIPAC. Now, you might be thinking, why would a journalist have to go out of their way to find out if a corporate PAC is donating to a candidate? Wouldn't it just show up on their FEC filings? Are they just reporting on it? Or do they have to actually go and dig for this information? Well, AIPAC knows that it's deeply unpopular now. And J Street still hasn't gotten that memo, by the way. I think J Street still just directly donates to candidates because they're like the liberal Zionist one. But AIPAC knows that its name is tainted, so it will create shell packs and then donate to those shell packs and then use those packs to either donate to another shell pack to extra hide it or donate to the candidate. And Ryan Grimm has been reporting on stuff like this. And as a result of AIPAC being so unpopular, AIPAC tweeted out, in response to somebody else, part of an orchestrated campaign to single out and demonize individual pro-Israel Americans for supporting candidates of their choice, a level of scrutiny not applied to any other group of citizens, and it's tolerated and celebrated by leaders who claim to want a big tent. Now, they're trying to imply that being against corporate money from the Israeli lobby makes you anti-Semitic because you're silencing Jewish voices. That's horseshit. That's complete bullshit. And that's what happens when you conflate Zionism and being pro-Israel with also being Jewish. And they're basically saying, they're making the Citizens United argument that a corporation is like a person. That when you silence AIPAC, you're actually silencing a lot of Jews. That's what you're actually doing. And it's horseshit. It's the weakest defense they've got is just to cry anti-Semitism, and that's all they've got. And so they tweeted out this. It's complete horseshit. You can be critical of a PAC donating to campaigns if you disagree with that PAC's opinion. And also, AIPAC, very good argument to be made that AIPAC is a foreign lobbyist group, thus, violating FARA. But whatever, who knows? Ryan Grimm tweets out, AIPAC complaining of, quote, a level of scrutiny not applied to any other group of citizens. Let's be precise. No other interest group, not crypto, not AI, not big oil, etc., hides its money in shell PACs. They all spend through PACs that are transparently linked transparently linked to their interest group. AIPAC and its major donors are alone in the opposite practice. So that is why reporters have to investigate it so that voters can know who they are backing. The other option would be to be honest and transparent from the jump. Why not do that? According to AIPAC, being pro-Israel is good policy and good politics. Their offshoot, DMFI, even claims there is a, quote, democratic majority for Israel, end quote. If that is true, spend money openly, endorse candidates openly, and let voters decide. If you refuse to do that, we will keep following the money and letting people know who you support. If it's true that being pro-Israel is good politics, we're doing you a favor. Exactly. This is the thing I always see is when people cry foul and, like AIPAC, they're like, oh, is Israel size of New Jersey? They're like, look, being pro-Israel just means you're this woke progressive, not anti-Semite. And, I don't know what's going on with my hair here. And, that's just good politics. If it was good politics, you wouldn't have to hide your donations. It's also really funny that if it's good politics, why are you dumping millions in all these campaigns in like a desperate move? It's like they let one Mamdani through, and now AIPAC's going fucking nuts to prevent any future Mamdanis. And so AIPAC responds in the most embarrassing way possible by saying this: are we unique or are you uniquely obsessed with us? At Grok. Compare how many stories / posts Ryan Grimm has written about AIPAC versus stories of how far-left groups like Justice Democrats and Working Families Party rely on billionaires. What is this argument? And then, Grok responded. I don't understand the issue with the Working Families Party taking money from rich people. But what's the issue? Tom Steyer is a good example of like a rich guy that isn't necessarily an awful human being anymore. So Ryan Grimm responded, Justice Democrats and WFP put their names on their ads and disclose their donors. They don't leave much room for investigation. And then he goes on to let's see. Then he goes on to say this. He says, imagine being a reporter at a mainstream news outlet trying to report on AIPAC's shell packet structure they use to hide support for candidates. Consider how frequently AIPAC gripes about me here, which they have to do because there's no manager they can complain to. Would be funny if they called the other people that run Dropside News to complain, but a reporter at any mainstream media outlet just trying to do basic straight reporting would get shut down by these arguments, which is what has happened for years. That's the best part of Dropsite News, is that they're independent. Is that they can operate on their own and they can report on whatever they want because they're independent reporters. They're not beholden to large corporate interests. And so you might be thinking, like, where does all this lead? What am I building up to with this? AIPAC's like very snarkily responded, imagine being an editor at a mainstream news outlet and having a reporter constantly push unsourced conspiracy theories. Like AIPAC is funding Center for Democratic Priorities because he's obsessed with one group of Americans. See, they keep going back to the one group of Americans. The Israeli lobby. Here's where it gets crazy. Is that while they're arguing, like the day that they're arguing, Dropsite News, specifically Ryan Grimm, discovers that a candidate in California's 11th district, the San Francisco supervisor, Connie Chan, has been receiving AIPAC money. A lot of AIPAC money. And not through AIPAC directly. Here, let me break this down for you. She has, according to the article that they reported, she has received money from very specific groups. So AIPAC and its affiliate, Democratic Majority for Israel, or DMFI, as mentioned before, have funneled money through other PACs to her campaign. DMFI have sent money to something called EDW Action Fund, about $37,750. Another group called United Democracy Project, or UDP, is sponsored by AIPAC, and UDP sent $250,000 to EDW Action Fund, totaling $287,750 from all of those PACs just for the month of April. Then, Pro-Choice Majority Action was then formed on May 1st and is a direct affiliate of EDW Action Fund. And Pro-Choice Majority Action has donated $475,000 to Chan. Here's the FEC filing for that last one. That is so much money from the Israeli lobby. So much money for one person, a Nancy Pelosi endorsed candidate from San Francisco. So you see what we mean? What other PACs, even Big Oil doesn't do this. What other PACs go through like 7 different middlemen just to donate money to one candidate? That's so much work. And it's so ridiculous. If you're wondering, the California primary was held on Tuesday, and 47% of the votes have been counted in her race. And so far, she is in second place. It looks like they've called it anyways, but it's Scott Wiener and Connie Chan. She got 28% of the vote. So yes, Scott Wiener is still, 14,000 votes ahead of her. But Connie Chan, still second place. Doesn't Scott Wiener have some shit with him as well? Oh, interesting. Scott Wiener is a guy who has rejected AIPAC. Although apparently he has received individual donations from AIPAC-affiliated donors. Interesting guy, huh? And he's a supporter of the two-state solution? Ugh. Yikes. We'll see about him. He's a little questionable. Speaking of Israel, we now have a new move from Congress, where Congress wants to basically combine the military intelligence apparatus of both the U.S. and Israel. So they would basically be sharing intelligence, sharing supplies, munitions, weapons contracts, all of this. In a move that could greatly kneecap the U.S. I mean, this is a crazy power move for Israel. They're going to gain way more power than they should have. Basically, if our military receives information, like intelligence and whatnot, they then share it immediately with Israel, and we would work hand in hand. Which is fucking ridiculous. Some of the details that stood out the most to a lot of people that wrote articles on it. In Section 224, which is called, quote, United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative, end quote. It lays out a plan to combine all of research and development, weapons production, joint ventures, and a bunch of other stuff that has to do with military intelligence. This would also give Israel access to the U.S. military's data. They would gain a stronger foothold in American politics because beyond AIPAC and J Street, by the way, the Israeli lobby would effectively be useless. Because here's what will happen is that Israel will have the power to open up weapons manufacturing divisions on U.S. soil. And a pro-Israel candidate can then make the argument that, oh, Israel's creating jobs. Thus, you know, why would you vote against Israel when they're bringing jobs to fucking Kansas or whatever? That's essentially what will happen, is that they will gain a strong, jobs-focused foothold in American politics beyond PAC money. I'm sure PACs would still be involved. But it would basically become leverage. So, awesome stuff. Really love that. The quicker we can sever ties with this dying nation state that beyond this point has lost so much support that, you know, the Iran war is a lot of evidence for this. They know they will never be able to pull shit like this off ever again under a future president. They literally know Trump is the last guy that they can do this with. He's the last guy. They will not be able to pull off something like another Iran war ever again if we vote the right people in. Because they're not going to have any more support. Think about how much anti-Israel sentiment there is in this midterm that's coming up. Now imagine the next presidential election. Now imagine the next midterm. You know, the 2024 presidential election was already plagued by anti-Israel sentiment, right? The uncommitted movement in Michigan, swing state voters not fucking with Harris because of her genocidal stance on Gaza. That already affected that election. This midterm, it's looking like it's going to sweep like half the Democrat races with anti-Israel candidates. You know, especially if Abdul al-Sayed wins, and especially with the fact that Plattner is the candidate in Maine for the Senate. I can't even imagine what will happen in 2028. Like down ballot races being heavily anti-Israel. The 2030 midterms being incredibly anti-Israel. You know, snowballing even more than it already has. Yeah, this country, that country's done after this. Into the 2030s, Israel will have as much power as like fucking Croatia or something. Or the Czech Republic, or Czechia, or whatever they call it. It's going to have as much power as like a Slavic state. I hope. If I never have to hear the name Benjamin Netanyahu ever again, I'm sure the next prime minister, I'm going to hate his name too, because I'm going to hear it so much associated with baby death. But yeah, I would say that they're on the way out the door at this point. Speaking of Israel again, Mamdani, New York City Mayor Zohar Mamdani. I haven't spoken about him in a while. Not since the Great Snowball Massacre of 2026. He was criticized for not attending the Israel Day Parade. You know, when the Nazis come to town and march in the streets of New York. He didn't attend. Look at who's there. Himmler. I mean, Smotrich. Weird. One of the Nazi cohorts is there. A far-right Israeli Nazi hanging out in New York City. No consequences. God, if only he had a fucking warrant. Oh my God, that would have really been an awesome test of the waters. Yeah, there's been a little Smotrich, and people were like, oh, why wouldn't Mamdani go to this? Probably because there's a war criminal there. This dude is evil. He's a monster. Why the fuck would you want to go to this? Imagine that. Hey, y'all, there's a Klan rally in New York City, and all the hot Democrats are going. Huh? Why would you want to go to that? Yeah, Kathy Hochul is there. Chuck Schumer's there.
I'm Yisroel Guy. The people Israel live.
What is this dude's fucking job anymore? Seriously. He doesn't do jack shit in the Senate. Can't whip votes. Can't keep the government shut down to keep his leverage. Can't do nothing. Literally, his big accomplishment during the Big Beautiful Bill saga was, guys, guess what? I got them to change the name. That's right. They changed the name. That's his big accomplishment. As he got them to alter the name of the bill. Whoa, buddy. Good God. What is this dude's fucking purpose anymore? Other than to just be a pro-Israel mouthpiece. I swear to God, if we get the majority in the Senate, they should replace him as the majority leader. Get him out. Vote somebody else in. Dude, if Graham Plattner or Abdul Al-Sayed were the fucking majority leaders in the Senate, oh my God. Even a compromise candidate like James Tallarico, if he becomes a senator, if he was the majority leader, anything would be better than fucking Chuck Schumer, man. Oh my God.
People Israel live.
His whole job is just being pro-Israel. Yeah, why would you want to go to that? As the progressive left-wing mayor of New York. All right, I want to talk about a couple more things, and then I have to go because I have to move more stuff. But the California race, as I mentioned, went on Tuesday. Now, only 56% of the votes are in, and it's still too early to call. Kind of crazy that they're still counting votes in California. But this primary is essentially just to determine what two candidates will be on the ballot in November. And brother, ain't looking good. I said that personally, I hope that Tom Steyer wins, because I believed that of the top polling candidates, he was our best option. I wasn't a big fan of Katie Porter. Eric Swalwell's a rapist, allegedly. Not a good look. And Javier Becerra is a corporate stooge. I mean, this man has been getting money and donations from PACs that you haven't heard of in decades. Fucking like the cigarette industry has donated money to him. Big Oil has donated money to him. Chevron. McDonald's. I mean, what the fuck does this guy have to offer? They're just really trying not to have someone like Tom Steyer in office, because he would probably try to bump up the minimum wage. He would provide, statewide health care, as he's discussed, if he actually follows through. And Becerra is such a dog shit candidate that Steve Hilton is leading the poll. He has 27% of the vote. The Republican is leading the poll. I really, really, really hope Becerra does not win this. I think he will. Unfortunately, I think it's cope for me to think Steyer can still pull through. But I really hope that Steyer could pull through. You know, there are counties where they haven't even gotten past the halfway point yet, where he's leading. But like, we need this man. We do not need Becerra. You know, Becerra is a horrible candidate. YOLO. He's a horrible candidate. He's a corporate stooge. If you want corporate money all up in your politics, then yeah, sure, Becerra. Good God, man. People in LA are such sheep. People in LA are such sheep. It really does piss me off that Steyer is not winning this. Which, this reminds me that California is neoliberal hellscape. That California is where you go if you are a run-of-the-mill moderate liberal and, you know, you want to think that you're progressive and you're not. You live in California, you're like, yeah, we got Gavin Newsom and he's going after Trump. Isn't he cool? And you're like, what policies does Newsom have? Well, he loves ripping up homeless encampments. Oh, and he still hasn't used any of the money for those public housing initiatives we've passed. Because he's beholden to HOAs. So he won't do it. Oh, okay. What do y'all think about state-run healthcare? Ugh. Why would we ever want that? Just pay $30,000 for an MRI. Like I did. Oh my God. I'm just so baffled at how that race is going. In the other races, the main Senate race, Susan Collins, who looks terrible, by the way. She decided to blame Graham Plattner for the Iraq War, it seems.
Senator Collins, Mr. Plattner says that you sent him to war, but in fact, he enlisted twice.
Correct.
What is your comment on that?
Well, first of all, he not only enlisted twice after the war was started, but he also went to work for a security company, a controversial one named Blackwater, after his term in the service was over. So I respect anyone who steps forward to serve their country. But the fact is, that was Plattner's decision to serve. He was not drafted.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Joe Biden levels of dog shit arguments in the way that she presented it and the way that she worded it. What sense does any of that make? Oh, even though I'm the one that voted to start that war, you know, because I'm a war hawk, he still decided to serve in the military because he bought our bullshit about American imperialism. And now that he's pulled himself out of it, she's like, well, curious, you participate in society, yet you criticize it. What? That makes no sense. She is literally the architect of starting that war. There would be no Iraq war without people like her. But she's blaming the guy that enlisted in the military. The Blackwater thing is, I guess, valid. I mean, y'all know how I feel. I mentioned it in my article. I mentioned it in the episode that I talked about it. You know, Constellus, or formerly known as Blackwater. Yeah, they killed a fuckload of people in a town square in Iraq. You should look that up. But still, I think it's a really weird line of argument to be like, yeah, I might have started the entire fucking thing, making me complicit for the entirety of the Iraq War, but, well, you played a small part in it too, because you served in the military during it. Top 5 worst arguments of all time. And also, can I just say, she looks like shit. Dog, she ain't winning nothing. You're running for Senate and you literally look like you could die at any point. She literally, if you saw her on camera, she probably reminds a certain amount of people of like the darkest period of their lives around their grandparents. Like, that's not good. That's not a good thing. Well, he served. Good God. Pick somebody that actually has like a pulse to run on your ticket, man. In Texas, where Tallarico is running, the issue of data centers has driven a lot of Republicans to abandon the Republican Party.
A mile away, Cheryl Shadden says the noise is as loud as ever.
It's like living on the edge of Niagara Falls, or you're on a runway next to a jet that's taking off, but this jet doesn't take off.
Morning, noon, night, she even hears it in her bedroom, and it's changed everything about how she lives her life, including her politics.
Red or blue, if you vote against data centers, we vote for you.
A lifelong conservative, she's so angry, she refuses to vote for Trump-backed Attorney General Ken Paxton, who clinched the GOP nomination for Senate Tuesday. Instead, she's all in for James Tallarico, a Democrat seeking to flip a seat controlled by Republicans since 1993.
Wow.
You're willing at this point to forego basically every conservative issue and let the Senate fall into the hands of Democrats if that's what it takes to kill data centers.
Yep. My entire community is going to break rank. Everybody. All of us. We've had enough.
Breaking.
You know what? This is a perfect example of actually having moral conviction. Like, I know the Republican Party's horrible, and it should have taken far more for her to change her mind. But when you see your party burning the world down, and you decide, I'm willing to throw that all away if we can just simply stop this one issue, I'm all for that. That's kind of what people did with the Democrats when it came to Israel and Gaza. You know, the Democrats supporting such an awful atrocity like the genocide in Gaza, and Democratic voters being like, I'm not going to fuck with this if y'all are going to keep doing this one particular thing. And the Democrats kept doing it, and now look, you know, now we're in this shit-ass situation because the Democrats couldn't just take a different position for once on an issue like that. The last thing, the new DHS secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen. Remember how I said, like last episode or whatever, it was either last episode or the episode before it, I said, I'm glad that the people they've been replacing in the Trump administration have just shut their fucking mouths and done their jobs, so I don't have to hear about them. That, you know, Mark Wayne Mullen had been DHS secretary for over a month, and I hadn't heard a single notable thing from him. And that Kristi Noem's big mistake was making all these public, grandiose decisions, and that's what got her in the hot seat. I spoke too soon. I spoke way too soon. Mark Wayne Mullen has announced that he is drawing up plans to block all international flights into blue cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. I'm never speaking ever again. I'm not. Why are we doing this? I know he's going to claim that it's to prevent sanctuary cities, but this just feels like a wider plan to restrict travel in and out of the country. So when the really bad fascism takes over, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't even escape. So that's how this feels. That's what this feels like. Ugh. Well, anyway, that's the last story I had pretty much. I was going to do a filler episode in case I'm not back next week, but I think if I can't get this all set up by next week, I'm just going to take the week off. I'll make a separate episode to make up for it. I was gonna do the tier list episode that I wanted to do, but I'm still gonna do it. I just might not do it next week. Yeah, this is the last time I'll be in this garage on camera. Can't wait to show off the new space. I got this nice apartment. And yeah, I got my own room for this stuff. The shelves are already there. The big box right here that's been here the whole time, by the way, is so fucking heavy. I'm gonna have to like unpack it and pack it into smaller boxes. I can't pick it up alone. So even if I got it into the car and got it there, I would then have to carry it into the apartment from the parking lot. And I don't know if I can do that, dog. I don't know if I can do that. It's so fucking heavy. Oh, man. Say goodbye to the space. I'll be in a different area next week. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Hope you're all being as gay as you possibly can be. And here's to 11 years of Obergefell of gay marriage being on the books. That's right, motherfuckers. Gay marriage being on the books. Yes. So yeah, if you want to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod, or you can go to our shop and buy some merch. It's so cool. I'm trying to work on some merch that's actually like wearable, so you're not just wearing a podcast logo on your shirt. So look out for that, I guess. You can listen to this podcast audio only on like Apple Podcast or Amazon Music or your Samsung smart fridge. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next week, I hope. If not, see you in 2 weeks. Peace.